Hey everyone, it is your host Cyber and welcome to another video. In today's video, I want to talk to you all about PlayStation and what's going on with PlayStation and me. I know that all of you are probably wondering why am I playing Fear 2 and talking about this video. Well, first thing, I love to torture anybody who hates scary games and just don't want to see it. And second of all, because it was the only game that couldn't frustrate me anymore. I tried playing Death Stranding and that didn't work out. So I'm gonna play some Fear 2 and I don't care what happens, whether if you cry like a baby or something, who cares? However, I wanted to talk to you all about PlayStation and what recently happened with PlayStation and me. Because this is something that I know that a lot of people are not talking about, and I know that may have happened to either one of you or anyone in the world, and I know that is something that a lot of people are I wanted you to know what happened. So, Reese, I'll get to cut to the chase because I don't want this video to be very long of me gibber jabbering about things that I don't need to talk about. And I'm going to explain to you every detail of what currently is happening and what made me lose my faith in PlayStation. And they also lost a customer. Recently, I recently purchased a PS Vita, and I just recently as well replaced the analog sticks because I want to be able to play PS Vita games and PSP games. Unfortunately, that was and that didn't that even though I still have it, that it just made PlayStation has made me even with the most manners they made me last time they did the same similar situation, and I'll explain about that too. So recently, so back in 2015, I owned a PSP and I purchased a game digitally called Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. If you pretty much know that game and you've played that game, you pretty much know that is a really good game, especially on the PSP. It was great. It was a great way to play Grand Theft Auto on the go, and I really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it to this day. However, that ended up really quickly when the other day. Uh, Something happened to my memory card on my PS Vita, and I had to format it, which was a bummer. And once I set everything, my memory card, formatted it, etc., I all of the games that I wanted to play. But the last thing that I would wanted to download, re-download again, was Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. And here's where the trouble came. Uh, it started because of that, and when I went to go to do I download it, it wasn't there. I'm like, okay, weird. I own the game. I should be there. So I scanned my list of over 900 games on my PS Vita for it twice, and I could not find it. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'll go and I'll go to the PlayStation Store and maybe show up there. Because whenever you purchase something, whether if it's digital on the PS Vita, digital on the PS3, or digital on the PS4, etc., etc., you'll notice that it will already tell you. It will have a red bag icon, and it will tell you, okay, you already own the game, so you don't need to buy it again. For me, for a game that I purchased full price before it even went to $20 at the discount, it told me I didn't own the game and I had to rebuy the game. And I'm like, why do I have to rebuy a game that I owned since 2015? Why do I have to spend $20 at full price for the game to be able to play a game that I've already owned the full license to? I own the full rights to the game because I purchased the game. Why? I called PlayStation, and I was very furious because not only that they introduced it to my account with my authorization, but they as well stole the game and making me pay for the license again, even though, even though that I've already paid for the game many years ago. This isn't the first occurrence that this actually happened. If y'all remember, before I had a PSP, I had a PS3. I bought Black Ops 2 digitally, the base game digitally. I didn't buy the DLC until a few months after, and this actually happened I think a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years after moving out of my aunt's house and living on my own. They did the same thing with Black Ops 2 on the PS3, where when I purchased the game digitally, I just have actually caught this on this earlier this year, so I was like, okay, I was fine with it. And I believe it was in January of 2021. I went to go. I got my first ever PS3 after years of not having one for years, and and after looking browsing through my whole list, I'm like, okay, what is going on? Like, where's my Black Ops 2? Because I know I'm 100% sure I purchased it, regardless of how you think. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe I've never purchased it. I have purchased the game digitally because I know exactly what I purchased because it is in my transaction history. And I was like, okay, I forgave PlayStation because maybe it would have been an error on their system. Maybe they're not doing it on purpose. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy it again at full price, $60 with tax, with 8% tax, because that's where I currently live. We have 8% tax, and I'm like, okay, I'll forgive them. I'll just buy the base game again, and that will be it. Few months late, many months later, we're in May, we're in July. A couple days later, beginning of July, I go to my download list. I get to download Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, and to see that they did it again. Instead of a PS3 game, they did it with a PSP game. The problem here isn't the fact that they did this. The fact is that they didn't notify me of them doing it. They didn't tell me, hey, the license is expiring. So if the license is expiring and then you renew the license, you'll have to repurchase the game all over again. I don't know. I think that if this is a licensing issue, they should have been well communicated with me to be able to notify me, hey, there's due to some error, there were some licensing issues, so and then just to notify me that I have to re-buy the game all over again. And if they would have told me that, I would have been a different story. Say, okay, maybe that's fine. At least they informed me and they told me that I have to re-buy the game all over again. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because it's only $20 right now, and I don't want to spend $20 on the game again if I already own the game. So, I was pretty upset. I wasn't gonna let this go, and it took me a few days in order to make this video because I was too enraged with PlayStation, and I still am, but I'm just much more calmer now to be able to explain to everyone of what's really going on. Um, so, um, I was pretty mad. I was very angry to a point that when I called PlayStation, I literally called PlayStation and I wanted to demand answers. I demanded that they, I politely, I politely asked them if they could return the game that they stole from me and return full rights to the game. They tried to tell me, here's their pitch. Here's what the response was. We need to, so okay, if you ordered this game, if you purchased this game, we need the email receipt that tells us that you own the game. But here's the fucking bullshit part about it. The thing is that whatever that lady was saying was complete full of shit. You know why? Because you can view my transaction history on their end. They can do the same thing in many ways. Through the PlayStation 3 console, through the PS4 transaction history, through the PSP transaction history, all the way up from the PSP all the way up to the PS5. You can view every game that you've purchased. You can view when you purchased it, how much money you spent on it, including tax, what game you purchased, etc., etc. And the lady had the audacity to tell me that I didn't own the game, didn't purchase the game at all, and there was no date on my transaction history of me purchasing it. This is where I lost the trust with PlayStation, because if PlayStation just wants to lie just to cover their ass, so this way that they can feel, oh, that they didn't do anything wrong. Listen, I'm not letting this go. I can understand that if you do it once, it may be an error in your systems. But if it's something that you fucked up with that deals with licensing for a game that somebody purchased digitally, then you should reinstate that person's game, no matter even if you had to send them a notification saying I'm sorry, because that person shouldn't have to spend more money on a game that's like 10 years old to play it. You know how bad that is? I'm not sure how many people that this has actually happened to, if this happened to anybody at all. But I would strongly advise to check your PSN list and see if there's a game from PS3 or PSP you purchased in the last 15 years and see if the game is no longer there. Because personally, for me, I may not have any screenshots to provide or any kind of footage to provide, because at the time I didn't have that. I didn't have that information. I wasn't able to, and I can't do it now because there's no way for me to do it right at this point, because it's over and done with, and all I can do right now is just speak with you all. And you all know that on this channel, I've never lied to any of you. I've always been straightforward and always told you, okay, if something happens, that's my fault. I will admit to it. But I've never lied, and I've never intended to lie, such as all of my tutorial videos. A lot of you love my tutorial videos because I am 100% honest with you, and I'm not going to be bullshitting you. Compared to other creators other tutorial creators who just wants to fuck you over and just being able to get you a quick buck for something that could be so simple. And I understand that you're all frustration that you just want that kind of creator. And I'm not a creator that makes tutorials that never lies. Why would I jeopardize my reputation of being 100% fully honest with everyone on here on my YouTube channel to just make a video to slander PlayStation? I personally don't want PlayStation to go under. I don't want PlayStation to get backlash for this. Which, I mean, they do deserve it. Even though they do deserve it, they should. But in my heart, I feel like if it goes to a point where they're gonna go bankrupt, then I don't think that's a good thing to do. I just want them to admit that their mistake into the public and be able to say, hey, we have actually been doing this. Even though that our intentions are not 200% wise, but we should be able to communicate with anybody that we do this to. So if we have a problem, with one of our games, we should be accountable and should be responsible for it. Because just imagine, say you bought Call of Duty Cold War 5 years ago. Say it's 5 years from now, and you bought it 5 years ago. And then you want to go download it again, but it's not there. Then when you go to the PlayStation Store, you realize that the game that you purchased 5 years ago digitally, and you spent $100 on it for everything, is no longer there, and they want you to pay for it again. How would you feel? How would you feel about that? How would you feel if that happened to you? It would be the exact same way that I felt when Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories was taken from me, without any notification, without remorse, and then being lied to by PlayStation, telling me, "Oh, I didn't ever bought the game." Look, people have emails that change. I get that. There's some emails that no longer exist because the service that ran those emails that I used to own no longer exists. What makes them in their right mind think that they exist? Seriously. And what about those customers? The only way you can provide enough proof is they look into your transaction history. And that could definitely, if you go to my transaction history, it definitely will show that Grand Theft Auto Liberty Stories was purchased. I'm not sure if this is a glitch or something that happened in their game. I just want it to be fixed, and I want my game back. If I spent a lot of, I spent plenty of amount of time in that game, and I really want the game that I purchased back. It isn't fair if I am punished for it, and PlayStation doesn't want to admit to their own mistakes because they want money. That's all they give a shit about is money, and they don't care about the customers because all they care about is money. They don't care either if a game was taken from you. They don't care if a license gets removed from you or if something happens to the license, which would require you to actually purchase the game over again. And but then you want the game back because you already gave them money for it, and having you to spend more money to get the game again, and then not care about how you feel as a customer. Right now, at a standpoint, I feel that PlayStation is giving me no reason to stay. They're giving me no reason to continue on with the products because right now I just think that right now, as of right now, PlayStation is just a con artist and a scam. They may feel that, oh yeah, they're not scamming you because you're purchasing the game at the moment, but later in time, this will happen to everybody. It will take a game will be taken away from you, and you may not understand why. You may not understand why it was removed from you. They won't tell you, and when you try to look for a receipt, it's no longer there because when you use it for because emails also do cleanups. So they're programmed these days, so they get cleaned up and they get deleted within 30 days. It is not. It's impossible to get those kind of information. Then they tell you, oh, we don't can't see that information, but if you can, then why were you looking at the years? Why would you need the years that I purchased the game? Why would you need all that information? Because you can. The problem, I didn't mind. I didn't care that they didn't send me a notification, but I cared that they took the game from me without sending one and telling me why, giving me a reason of why it was removed from my account. I just don't understand. And I have a witness because I have a witness to this because she's not here. She's currently working. But she's seen that I own the game. And being it took it from you, it really hurts because you put so much trust into a company that you care so much about. And you spent so much money on their platform to be screwed in the end. And without any remorse, no warnings, no letters, no nothing. Only regrets and being heartbroken. I will never, ever buy another PlayStation product from them ever again. And I would suggest you, if you're a PlayStation fan or even a PlayStation user, I would say get a PC because you're not going to experience those problems. I've had games for more than 10 years and I never had them removed from my account. I would say go to Xbox because Xbox may be better. I don't know if they do it too. I just say that Xbox never did that to me because they haven't. Actually, they have. They actually did with Call of Duty Classic. I can't say they haven't, but I don't know if they changed their ways. I don't know if they still do it. The problem is companies like these likes to screw around. And they like to screw around with people's accounts because they're not gonna see that they're doing it. Just imagine you pay a game that's $60 now, but you paid $100 because you wanted the pre-order bonus years ago, and then that game was taken from you, and the only thing that's left with you is the DLCs. Just imagine how much money you have spent in that game or for to obtain that game years later, and then you coming back wanting to play that game to find out that game is no longer in your account. You get no warning, you got no notification, you just got fucking screwed and shoved a shovel right up your ass. That's how this feels for me. Well, I got a shovel shoved right up my ass. And being screwed over because you know what? No matter how much I want my game back, there's nothing I can do. Because PlayStation is a strong company. Just because one person reports it, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to abide by it. But if this has happened to you, we need to stand up and say, PlayStation, you fucked up, and you need to stop stealing people's games and making them repay for games that you've already owned. and to take accountability and responsibility for those actions that you have committed without giving us a reason of why the game was removed and why we don't own the game anymore and why you're making us repay for the game. And you all need, and especially people at PlayStation, if you're a support, you need better. Not if you work at PlayStation and you're watching this fucking video and you work for a technical support agent, please have some knowledge. If you're working for PlayStation, you should have every exact knowledge for every single console from the beginning to the end. Even if you worked there recently and you never experienced a PlayStation console before, that's perfectly fine. But if you have been there for years, since like the PS3 days or the PSP days, etc., then you shouldn't have an excuse to not know what a PlayStation console is. This is where it makes me angry. As I said, I'm no longer going to purchase a PlayStation hardware and PlayStation games. I will buy certain games because for older generations because I pretty much enjoy those generations, but I won't buy. I will try to avoid digitally. If you are going to stick with PlayStation, I would highly recommend you to stop buying digital games and actually buy physical. Because yes, it may not be digital, may be convenient for you to download and stuff, but it might not be. It may be your doom when the years come by when the PlayStation actually takes the game from you without telling you. And that is the problem here. So get a physical if you're going to stay with PlayStation, but avoid the amount of costs. Otherwise, if you guys did enjoy this video, I pretty much did. But let me know what you guys think. And if this happens to you, let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.